Hello everybody. In this video, we are going to determine sources of bias. So in the following situation, are the differences between groups potentially due to bias? Let's first start this out by defining bias. So a study has a bias if it systematically produces results that misinterpret a population. So in other words, if I am going to ask somebody if they like to go to the movies, and I go to a movie theater to ask people if they like going to the movies, well then that shows a bias because I've chosen people who go to the movie theater to watch movies. So a bias can misrepresent the population. The first study here, we're going to look at a psychologist is conducting surveys to study the happiness level of people who live in a neighborhood. She asked the same questions to two samples below, chosen from the population of the neighborhood. So 100 people surveyed sunny Saturday afternoon. So again, now we're looking at a sunny Saturday afternoon. They're outside, they're enjoying themselves, and 65% of the people were happy. Well, then the next day, 100 people were surveyed on Monday morning, and 35% of people were happy. So we had a higher percentage of happy people on Saturday afternoon. I guess it was 2 days later. And then 2 days later on Monday morning, only 35% were happy. So here the difference between the results of the survey is due to a bias because the circumstances when the two samples were surveyed may influence the response. So again, we have people happily enjoying their weekend, and therefore we would have people saying, yeah, they're happier, as opposed to having to go to work on a Monday morning after enjoying a nice sunny weekend. So bias may also arise if a sample is more likely to include a certain category of the population than another. For example, a poll on a website is more likely to select frequent internet users than those who do not go online. Again, for those who are going to the movies, you might get a different result than those who are staying at home. Let's look at a second example. A school wants to know the average height of its students. The school randomly chooses five students. The school randomly chooses some students and measures their height. Some students are under 5 feet tall, and some students are over 6 feet, 5 inches tall. So we need to see, is there bias in the way that they did this experiment? So the fact that some of the data collected are either very high or very low is not necessarily the result of bias. A population like students in high school will naturally have people with a wide variety of heights. A true random sample may have members from both extremes, and here we have members from both extremes, and therefore we can see this as a true random sample without a bias. All right, so there we have it. There we have why, or what a bias is, and why should you determine whether any differences in the collected data is due to bias. Studied from the natural variability of the population, because we need to figure out if our data is truly representing what we need it to represent, or if we are building a bias into that data. So we need to critically think through the data that we are looking at. Alright guys, so here is the end of the video. If you have any questions, always feel free to ask, and I will see you in the next video.